What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in to On the Ball podcast. As you can see, got a new logo and everything. Same show, but just wanted to change up the image a little bit. So hopefully you appreciate that. Um, those of you tuning in, you guys already know we're going to talk some NFL, we're talk some NBA, and just have some fun with it. Want to hear from you all as well. So anything we talk about on here, or if you have questions of your own, let's talk about that. Drop it into the comments. Kerm's already in here. Kerm already knows. We're going to talk about John Morant. We'll get into that. Um, so yeah, you could do like Kerm and leave your comments, or if you have any questions in the chat. And let's go ahead and get started because Kerm's ready to go already. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight. We are going to start with John Morant. So let's go ahead and get into him. John Morant has made some news with kind of speaking out against the Grizzlies after a 3 for 14 performance where he played 30 minutes, which is kind of on par with his career numbers. But as you can see, his numbers on the season, I believe all of these are down kind of considerably from his career. He's been suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. He will be back for the next game. Obviously, he's already sat it out. But now there's a lot of speculation that he's going to get moved. And I think for me, it's a very simple question to start with. Is John Morant a difference maker that if he was to be moved from Memphis could, lead a team to a title?
Lead a team to a title? No. Here's the issue with John Morant, right? He obviously still got talent. I'm not going to deny the talent that's there, but the reality is, I don't think he has it in him to win a title. I just watched him quit on his team a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who he's a terrible attitude, right?
Yeah.
This is a guy that he's mad if they're playing an offensive system where the ball's not in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
They're winning, but the ball's not in his hands, and he's so annoyed with it that they end up firing the coach, put in a new system so that they can put the ball in John's hand with more pick and roll offense, and he's still not happy. This isn't a guy that's underpaid. He's on a max contract.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still not happy. This is a guy throughout the years that his game stagnated hardcore. He's a bad defender. He's not a great floor spacer.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who famously said, "We're fine in the West." And it turns out they're not fine in the West. And one of the biggest problems with the Memphis Grizzlies is John Morant.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, they're not going to do anything with Ja there, but the problem is, how do you trade Ja right now? Because his value's so bad. He's tanked his own value to a point where it doesn't make sense to trade him where his value's so low. And I get it. He's going to go on a stretch where he's averaging like 30, make some cool highlight dunks. And y'all can circle back to this and go, LMAO, you see, you gave up on him too early, you clown. But at the end of the day, you're not winning a title with John Morant. Is he a difference maker? Is he a difference maker? I think he can make a difference. But do I think he's a difference maker in the sense that he's bringing a team to a title? Absolutely not.
Hey, what's going on, Incognito? We talk NBA and NFL. John Morant stands for a league team. Yeah. I feel like he's a guy who kind of a lot of people looked at as, maybe a superstar a couple of years ago. I feel like that's why he kind of said the thing about them being fine in the West. If I were a team, I just wouldn't want to deal with it. Like he had 30 minutes. He went 3 for 14. I can't blame coaching for that necessarily. And you look at his shot chart, the 3 shots he made are all in the paint. Perimeter shooting is still a problem for him. 3-point shooting is really a problem for him. I mean, he's shooting 16% on the season, and I wonder if Memphis could do it again. Would they have kept Bane and Jackson together and traded Morant? Would they have just kind of traded everybody and started? Because I have issues with Jaren Jackson as well as uh, supposedly a number 2 option on that team right now. And I think that year when Josh said that they were fine in the West, I think that's when they peaked. It's been downhill since then. And I've never thought John Morant was one of those, especially in a league where, guard play doesn't necessarily translate to, winning at a high level unless you're SGA. I wouldn't put John Morant on that kind of level with him. So I feel like he's probably going to be stuck in Memphis. He's going to be miserable. And Memphis isn't really going anywhere, unfortunately, I guess, if you're a Grizzlies fan. But I just don't get it. Like, he should be the leader for what they're paying him, but they're a 500 team. And with these numbers, like, they're probably just going to end up as a playing team if they're lucky, and no team in the West is going to be scared of them. So follow up to this, let's just say the contract wasn't as big of an issue as it is, and you could move John Morant. Where would be a good fit for him?
Say, I could see a team like Miami, who severely lacks offense, being a great fit for him. I could see a team, obviously, like the say Orlando Magic, who have problems at the point guard position, seemingly yearly, taking a flyer on them. Say so here's the thing, right? I like to hate on Ja. I don't like to hate on Ja. I hope Ja turns this around. That's the funny part. I'm basing what I'm saying about Ja Morant off the actions of Ja Morant. It's not hating when I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. I watched him run through that. The reason I say he quit on his team, I watched him that game. He's walking to the corner. He's just hanging out in the corner. He's not trying to be aggressive. He's not trying to attack. Say, he just was clearly disengaged that game. And my question is, what will make him care? Like, I see your comment too, Incognito Kid, because he just doesn't care to play for Memphis. Mm-hmm. What motivates him? Because I think he could still be a phenomenal player. And obviously, I still think he could turn it right. Still young. There's a reason that he was almost called a superstar at 22. But what makes him click?
I have called LeBron out on that before. I know he's right.
LeBron gets called out all the time. He gets called out more than he gets praised at this point. But, like, that's what I'm confused about with Ja. What makes him click? Because you run the offense through him. He's not happy. You tried running this new offense last year that got him off the ball more. Wasn't happy. So, I don't want y'all to think that I'm a Ja Morant hater. And if you think that's fine. The reality is I do want Ja to do well. But it's just seemingly a situation where nothing's making him happy. So, I hope he turns it around, but after watching him quit on his team a couple nights ago and just the absolute stagnant progression, I'm not very keen on it. So maybe a change of pace, change of scenery is what's needed. So, like I said, I'd love a team like the Miami Heat to take a chance on him.
Okay.
I think they would actually be a very great fit because they lack offense. You could give them some downhill creation. So a lot of people gave AD crap back in 2018 when he quit on the Pelicans. What do you mean?
I mean, look, I'm sure main event you might be new to the channel and everything like that. When AD was walking around with the T-shirts and everything, sending a clear message that he didn't want to be there, I had a problem with that as well. And I think Brett is definitely hitting on a point where neither of us hate Ja at all. We're just looking at this from the sense that clearly he and Memphis just aren't going to vibe anymore. And is there anything that Memphis can really do to make it work? Is there any way that Ja wants it to work in Memphis anymore? And because of his contract, because of maybe perception around the league, can it really actually get any better for John Morant right now? And maybe he just needs to deal with it, play it out, and when his contract's more movable, maybe he can do something. Because look, for him coming from what was it, Murray State and everything, I've seen progression in his game, which I absolutely point out that he has gotten better as a shooter, at least in my eyes, because I thought when he first came to the league, he was nothing more than like, diving to the front of the rim, the dunks and all that. He's worked on his game, but it just seems like him and Memphis have gotten stale now, and somebody's gonna have to make a move. They did the Bane deal because we talked about it on here as well. Morant, Bane, and Jaren Jackson kind of hit their ceiling, and they had to make a decision. They decided to move off of Bane. Now Bane's having his own issues in Orlando. We'll talk about that, but because I saw main event, you brought up a lot of players. Yeah, this comment. Not winning a title with Morant. Will you win one with Booker? We've talked about Booker plenty of times. Yes, you can put all these players in the same conversation. AD, Zion, Trae Young. Has Luka wanted? I mean, Trae Young. I talk about Trae Young all the time. Not the biggest Trae Young fan. I live in Atlanta and see the Hawks a lot and talk about a lot of their shortcomings, and Trae Young is part of that. So yes, we're not hating on Ja. We're just having a conversation because he is kind of the biggest topic in the NBA. At least after his comments, and now, the speculation is running wild. Paul George, Embiid, Brunson, Cat. Yeah, look, we have Sixers fans on the network that will tell you Paul George and Embiid aren't leading them to a title.
And here's the thing, too. The difference between what I'm seeing with Ja right now and someone, for example, like Devin Booker, is it's really simple. I watched Devin Booker just add little things to his game. I watched him lead a team to the NBA Finals. I watched Luka lead a team to the NBA Finals. So I don't think it's really fair to lump those guys into that conversation because they've led teams there. But I will say this. Every single player that just gets disgruntled and just kind of quits on their team kind of say the same thing. They quit. I said the same thing about Anthony Davis when he stopped playing, and when he stopped playing for the Pelicans in 2018. I said the same thing about James Harden when he started pulling his antics. At the end of the day, when a player quits, they quit. So I said, I'm not sure what do you want to hear? Like, we watched it. He's disgruntled. He stopped giving effort. That was very clear as day. So, like I said, I'm not sure what you're looking for here. Like I said, I ain't a Ja hater, but I'm just telling you what I see, and I hope he turns it around. I really do.
Right. Main event, I completely agree. Leading and winning are 100% different. Yes. Now, John Morant is technically supposed to be a leader in Memphis, which, we talked about, once again, Brett and I have talked about several times that a lot of Memphis's shortcomings have come from lack of leadership because they were a very young team that all kind of had to grow up together. And I guess their biggest leaders were like Steven Adams, who I don't know if he's much of the vocal type of leader, but there was a lot of years where Steven Adams and was it Brandon Clark and guys like that were always hurt when they got to the postseason. And that's when you probably needed Ja to step up. And outside of that 1 year, it just hasn't happened.
It is probably a great thing to mention too that obviously Memphis's hands aren't clean in any of this.
Absolutely
They
not.
should have added some vets to help lead a young locker room, but it just kind of a lot of letting them figure it out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't just a John Morant situation in Memphis. I think we should make that clear. So it's one of those things that Ja will absolutely probably need to go somewhere else. So, and if he does and he breaks out, I'm happy for him. I hope he does.
Yeah, I mean, you take away the IG Live and all that nonsense. I'm a fan of John Morant. I really am. So, main event, like I said, we're not hating, just having a
Right.
conversation.
But I do agree, Incognito. He just keeps almost sabotaging himself with doing, obviously, if you want out of
I
town,
mean,
right? Like, if you want
mhm.
to get out of town, I don't really understand the value of just playing this crappily, because now the Grizzlies are just not gonna, move you. But because at this point, why would they trade you while your value's low? So it's an interesting situation to keep an eye on. But it just seems like it's leading for his split. And hopefully, wherever he goes, Ja finds his smile, in the words of Shawn Michaels.
Okay. Obviously, if something else breaks in the John Morant stuff, we'll talk about that for sure. Been a basketball fan for 3 years, heard nothing but drama around this man. Well,
Yeah, he was on top of the world in 2022. They had just taken the Lakers, not the Lakers, the Warriors, deep into that playoff series.
he was seen as a face of the league.
He was seen as a face of the league candidate. So I think that might still be in there,
Teams win
but
us.
we'll see.
That's true. Stats don't win you anything. I definitely get that. Main event, are you a Grizzlies fan? I know it's the first time seeing you comment. And like I said, appreciate all of you that are in here and dropping comments for sure. Make sure you like and share it out as well. And follow Wire to Wire Network for sure.
Yeah, say it. I love chopping up hoops with you. Sometimes I come off as a hater, but believe me, there's nobody I hate more than
Understand?
anybody. The only people I tend to end up really just truly disliking are half the time people on my own team that I get frustrated with. But
Mm-hmm.
even then, I just try to come at everything from an unbiased perspective.
Right.
Dodgers.
Okay.
What a World
Great
Series
World
that
Series.
was.
It was a great World Series for sure. I mean, Red Sox fan, I didn't have a dog in the fight, but a lot of fun that game 7 for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Shout out to my
Uh,
guy Garcia. He won 300 like $300 from that. So
Not a bad night.
no.
All right. So just wanted to kick it off with a quick NBA topic. And also, like, if you guys are definitely looking for further in-depth NBA stuff, you gotta check out Brett and Mo on and one Thursday nights. Okay.
No.
Hey, no,
Hey,
we
no, we
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move ahead. NFL. Guys, I just want to do a quick little NBA conversation to kind of get us going. But NFL, we're in the middle of a season that has been so unpredictable. It's been a parity-filled season. Appreciate that main event.
Thank you.
Um, so looking at some of the results from this past weekend, there's some surprising teams that are atop the AFC and the NFC. So I have 4 teams that I want to bring up. Like I said, you on the chat, let us know how you feel. Do they have the tools to win the Super Bowl? So I'll start with the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 6-2, just beat the Commanders last night. So hopefully a speedy recovery to Jaden Daniels. Nasty injury.
Why,
That
why,
was brutal. Should he
why,
have been in the game?
no. I don't
I didn't understand it either.
like, if it's still a game, I get it, but when you're down 31 in the middle of the fourth, he should have been pulled long before that. You don't
Right.
keep him in on the, what would it be, like 1/100th of a chance that you actually pull off a comeback?
Mm-hmm.
And you may have just caused long-term damage to your franchise quarterback. So it was just a stupid move by Dan Quinn to have him in there. That was just bad. That was just bad management. It was RG3 all over again against the same team in the
Right.
same
Yeah.
stadium.
Yeah. If you're a fan of that team, you're worried that it's heading down the same path. Well, at least with well, not at least, but with RG3, it was a knee injury. This is an elbow injury, non-throwing arm, but it still, highlights that he shouldn't have been out there, especially the fact that he's coming back from an injury, and leaving him out there did nothing but expose him to potential injury. They may have gotten lucky that it was an arm injury, because if he had done something and blew out a knee, as main event puts it, Dan Quinn would be under a lot of heat, which he probably still is because of the injury itself. But if it was like a blown knee or broken leg type thing, it would have been a bigger story. And like I said, hopefully he comes back and can get back to form, because he's an exciting young player. Last season was a great run for them, and now their season, as we know it, is over unless you believe in Mariota to right the ship. The Commanders are done. But I guess getting back to the topic, the Seahawks are 6-2. They lead the NFC West. They are, I believe, the number 3 seed currently in the NFC. Sam Darnold is their quarterback. The defense is what it is. Do they have the tools to win the Super Bowl? And if they do, what's maybe their, biggest asset to win it? And if you don't think they can, what's holding them back?
So I actually think the NFC is very wide open. Every single team, even your powerhouses, as a quote, your favorites coming into the year are very mortal and flawed. So I actually think the Seahawks could pull it off.
Okay.
Say Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba have an absolutely terrific connection. They have 2 great runners with Walker and Charbonnet. So if anything holds them back, it might be, we saw it kind of last year. It's funny they mentioned Minnesota last year, because we kind of saw at the end of that season the offensive line start to show cracks, and as soon as the pressure mounted for Sam Darnold, he kind of ended off the year on a rough note. So it almost feels like that. What holds them back? Can the offensive line continue to hold up and protect Darnold? Because as the year, we have 8 weeks of film. And, in this home stretch, teams now are going to start looking at it and finding new ways to get pressure on you. So if a team finds the answer and starts pressuring Darnold, that's when he tends to make a lot of mistakes. So I think as long as they can keep Darnold upright and keep the pressure off of him, I think this team could very much be making a run at least to the NFC Championship game. They look good.
Yeah. Well, look, I think they are, and I would say McDonald and the transformation of the defense is really good, and the emergence of JSN as a legit number 1 wideout are the reasons why I feel like they could win a Super Bowl. And I agree that Sam Darnold is trajecting the way he was with Minnesota last year, but we know how that year ended. So yes, if he can put together a full season, I think they'll be really, really good and a tough out come January. Yeah, they are definitely playing. All right, second team. Denver Broncos lead the AFC West. They have a lot of heart attack wins, but they're another team that's kind of built on defense. They have a young quarterback in Bo Nix. So do the Denver Broncos have the tools to win the Super Bowl?
I don't think so. This is the team my problem is the offense, right? They're too inconsistent. One game they drop 44, the next they just end up kicking 6 field goals. They keep winning these really close games. They look good against the Cowboys, but I just don't necessarily trust their consistency. Like 1 week they look great, and the next their offense looks almost non-existent. So I don't think that's a formidable, formula for the playoffs. And obviously, once you get there, you can't beat a team like Buffalo or Kansas City playing Jekyll and Hyde. So I think they can make a game, the game's close in the playoffs, but I don't really buy them as Super Bowl contenders unless they can find some consistency on their offense.
I mean, I like the direction that they're going, but for this year, I would say no as well. And this is Sean Payton's side of the ball on the offense, but I agree they're not consistent enough for me. And right now, yeah, they're beating some subpar teams right now, but I would trust the defense. Bo Nix in his second year, he did a lot his first year, his rookie year. He hasn't really lived up to it in his sophomore season. And I don't know, like you said, could they go to Buffalo and win? No. I would worry about him if he had to go to Kansas City and win. And those are normally the spots you have to go through to win a Super Bowl. I don't know if he's ready for that yet.
I like the bold prediction of the Super Bowl, by the way. I love it.
That is bold. I respect it. All right, team number 3. I mean, this one's near and dear to my heart. The Patriots. Patriots are 7-2, atop the AFC East, tied for the 1 seed with the Colts and the Broncos. They're coming off of a win over the Falcons where Drake May didn't play great, but a sign of a good team, you win games like that. First year coach Mike Vrabel, who's kind of worked some magic in Tennessee before. Can a young quarterback like Drake May take a team like the Patriots to the Super Bowl? Do they have the tools to win the Super Bowl?
Ooh, do they have the tools? I think they do. Here's my question, though. Do they have the experience?
Okay.
That's my kind of concern with the Patriots. It's not that they have the coaching, which has made the offense work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in all reality, I think in the playoffs, you're going to see a lot of teams really just sell out to stop the run and force these receivers to win some physical one-on-ones in cold weather, and that's a tough ask. So but it's funny because I think they could, but we're asking a team with a lot of young guys who have never been to the playoffs to all of a sudden come in and really contribute right away in a playoff setting, and that's tough. So I'm going to sell on them, but it's not a confident sell because I think there's a chance. They've been playing great, but yeah, I'm going to sell that they're going to make a Super Bowl run, and I think Kyle's going to ban me off next week's show. So it's nice knowing you guys.
No. Look, coming into this year, I thought they were a 9-10 win team if everything broke their way. They're probably going to move past 9 and 10 wins. I still wouldn't. I would be shocked if they made the Super Bowl this year. I think what you've learned is Drake May has made that step into being a guy you could label as a franchise quarterback. Now, I'm not saying he's a top tier quarterback or anything like that, but he's on the right trajectory. I think Mike Vrabel was the great hire for them. The defense has played well, but they have some limitations. There's a reason why the Patriots are looking for a DN. They would like another pass rusher. The linebackers, I think there's questions about. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think they have the tools, but they're stocking the pantry, we'll say, to be a Super Bowl contender in the future. I know, Jory. I know. Don't want to talk too much about Vrabel, but I agree. They don't have the tools to win it all. All right. The last team I have for this. The 49ers are 6-3. Brock Purdy is still hurt. They're winning games with Mac Jones. They're getting like every ounce out of Christian McCaffrey. Saleh was brought in the offseason. The defense is holding up. They are, I believe, the 6th seed right now, but they're in that NFC West race that, look, maybe they could win the division. Do the 49ers have the tools to win the Super Bowl?
It's funny. My mind tells me that this is not a Super Bowl team, but also every time I bet against the 49ers, they end up in the freaking Super Bowl.
True.
So it's challenging with them, right? They're banged up.
Mm-hmm.
They're hurt. but they keep finding a way. They're going to be getting their franchise quarterback soon. They have elite coaching on both ends with, Shanahan and Saleh. So, yeah, you know what? I'll buy it. I think it's possible.
Okay. All right. I actually don't think so. I feel like the injuries at some point are going to catch up to them. And I think the Niners are a team that I don't know if I would necessarily trust if they had to go on the road, to Philly, or if they even had to go on the road to Seattle. Like, I really am buying into that Seahawks team. I think they are the best team in that division. And I don't know if the 49ers could get by either of those two teams. Look, I like the fact that Mac Jones has found a home and has performed well. I would be interested to see, like, going forward, if he gets another opportunity to actually start somewhere else and have a coach that builds a team around him. I'm hoping for it. I just don't know if I could fully buy into the Niners this year. And they are doing it with smoke and mirrors. I appreciate what they're doing. I just don't think they have enough to do it this year. And my biggest question will probably be offensively. Because they've kind of struck luck that Kendrick Bourne and Mac Jones, that connections worked for them. I think they're still kind of limited on the outside.
I think one of two things is going to happen with the Niners. Either A, injuries are going to keep piling up, they're going to fall apart, or B, they're going to get healthy and hot at the right time.
That is a possibility.
It feels like this is either a very emphatic yes, or they're just going to completely miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those. It's one of those things with the Niners. At the end of the day, they have good coaching that can cover up for a lot, and the talent has been making it work. So it's one of those things that this is probably it'll be interesting because I think that's where I'm at. I think there's a possibility even without a guy as great as Fred Warner.
Yeah.
This could be a team on the flip side that gets healthy and hot at just the right time and surprises everyone.
I mean, they are an interesting case study, which is why I use them. Because there's a couple other teams I thought about using, but I was like, I think the 49ers would bring about a more interesting kind of conversation. So that was, do they have the tools to win the Super Bowl? As you'll kind of see, I was kind of in my bag with the hypotheticals today. Because now the next one I want to talk about, which team is more believable? So let's start with the Carolina Panthers. They are 5-4. They just are coming off of a win over your Packers. Earlier in the year, they destroyed the Falcons, which, depending on how you feel about the Falcons, I don't know how much you want to make of it. The Panthers are a team I feel like we're predicted to finish last in that division. Bryce Young is a guy who has struggled a bit in his career, but the second half of last season, it seemed like something clicked for him. And now this year, with Rico Dowdle like emerging as a good running back, they're kind of a feisty team. So would you say that the Panthers are, I guess, would you buy or sell stock on the Panthers as a team who could make the playoffs and win a game? I think that's how I'm going to phrase this. Make the playoffs and win a game. Were you buying or selling on the Panthers?
I think it's possible that they make the playoffs. I don't think they're winning a game, though.
Okay. Actually, maybe we'll take that part out. Just making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the thick of the wild card race. They're right there, and not to mention they're still in the race for their own division.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where I think that they are definitely still a believable threat to make the playoffs. Maybe with one of those last wild card spots being the most realistic way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're winning a playoff game, but you know what? I hope they prove me wrong, though. This is a young and fun team, and I do think that they can make the playoffs this year.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like they could make the playoffs. It'll be interesting though. The next couple of weeks they have the Saints and the Falcons, two very winnable games. If they get those, you're looking at a 7-4 Panthers team, and then with the rest of their schedule, where they have both their meetings with the Bucks. Like if they split with the Bucks, I think that they may have their way in. The one thing that may hold them back, though, the NFC West. The NFC West currently has 3 teams in the playoffs. If all 3 of those teams make the playoffs, I would say no, the Panthers don't really have a shot at it. If one of them slips up, I think the Panthers could be that team that slides in as maybe a 7 seed. So I think if I had to make a pick right now, I'd say they probably don't make the playoffs. But this year has been a big year for Bryce Young. I think it's been a big year for the Panthers, like culture in general. And it's probably been a big year for Dave Canales, because I don't know if he's still. I still don't think he's a good coach or anything. But if they were an embarrassment again this year, he probably would have been on his way out.
Hey, you know what? And shout out to somebody who should be in the conversation for if there's a most improved player award in the NFL. Rico Dowdle, man, he's been electric for them.
Yeah, he really has. Because, to think about it, he was a Cowboy. Cowboys have their own issues running the ball. I'm sure they would love to have a Rico Dowdle right now. Just saying. All right, next team. The Minnesota Vikings. This is another one in your division. I'm sure you watch a lot of Vikings football. They are 4-4, maybe coming off of their most impressive win over the Detroit Lions. A lot of us here on the network talk about Brian Flores, what he does with the defense and everything like that. Offensively, they're back with J.J. McCarthy, who we still don't really know what kind of quarterback he is. But they did, like I said, just beat a really good Detroit team. How believable is it that the Vikings could be a playoff team this year? I guess buying or selling them as a playoff team.
This one is tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it all comes down to how much you believe in J.J. McCarthy. And I've seen about 5 quarters of really good J.J. McCarthy, football. I've also seen about 5 quarters worth of, really bad J.J. McCarthy football.
Mm-hmm.
He was really bad in that first game where he won Offensive Player of the Year, or the week. But let's be real, he was terrible those first 3 quarters. But then was really good in the fourth. Really bad in the second game. Obviously out with an injury, and now he looks really good. So this is all, to me, this question will come down to JJ. JJ McCarthy's the quarterback that they thought they were going to get with the 10th pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was drafted about 10th. Anyway, irrelevant.
Yeah.
Then, I fully buy in. But if he's going to be the quarterback that, we saw, for about 5 quarters to start the year, probably not so much. But that being said, I believe it, though. This is a great defense with a lot of weapons on offense. And one thing that Kevin O'Connell does well, develop quarterbacks. He saw something in JJ. So I do believe that JJ McCarthy will play a little closer to what he did last game than he did in the first couple. So I'll buy into the Vikings.
Okay. And Kevin O'Connell did come out and say that he's confident in his quarterback situation, which I guess technically right now is McCarthy and Brosmer, because Wentz was beaten up. I feel like because of the Brian Flores aspect of it, I want to say yes. I just don't think they're consistent enough that I would buy into them being a playoff team. I think maybe next year, if J.J. McCarthy is actually healthy to start the season and can get through most of the season, I might be more of a believer next year. This year, I just don't think they have it. And I think a lot of that is because, like you said, McCarthy is such a question mark this year. Because at this point, he has to stay healthy the rest of the year right now. And I just don't know if that happens. They're a fun team. Skull Nation and all that. Like, it's a fun environment. I would love to see them in the playoffs. I just don't believe it.
Hey,
Next up, oh, go ahead.
oh no, I'm saying fun report just cleared. Asante Samuel just got cleared to return to the NFL. Say he had a spinal fusion procedure this offseason, so he
Yeah.
just got cleared. So hey,
Okay.
that'll be an interesting free agent to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, that's good news for sure. All right, next the Pittsburgh Steelers, 5-3. They just took down the previously 7-1 Indianapolis Colts. Steelers have had a up and down season. Appreciate that main event. They have a very expensive defense. They have a lot of names on that defense. The defense hasn't played great, but they had a really good performance against the Colts. They bottled up Jonathan Taylor. And because of that, Daniel Jones, had a bit of a, vintage Daniel Jones performance with turnovers and bad quarterback play. Offensively, you have Aaron Rodgers, who's at the end of obviously of his rope, probably his last season. You have DK Metcalf, a running game that doesn't necessarily put fear into you. Really good coach in Mike Tomlin. Once again, people questioned him before the season. They seem like they're on the road to once again finishing over 500. Don't know how he does it. Are you buying into the Steelers, who are leading the AFC North, by the way, even though Vegas feels like the Ravens are the best team there? Are you buying into the Steelers as a playoff team in the AFC this year?
I feel like the expectation for the Steelers should probably be a little higher than playoff team at this point, right?
Okay.
Because I think that playoffs, yeah, I absolutely do at this point. I feel like with the Steelers, the question is starting to turn into can they make a run?
Okay.
And do I believe in them to make the playoffs? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think this team is going to make a run? Nah. And I think it just comes back down to maybe the biggest issue on this team. I think the defense is just too old. They obviously got it done against the Colts. That's great, but that's maybe one of the few times all year that we've seen them, kind of get it done. A lot of their wins have came on the back of the offense, and the defense maybe makes one key stop throughout the game. I believe that the Steelers will make the playoffs, but I need to see more out of their defense to fully buy in to them making any sort of deep run.
Okay. Look, I'm hoping. Right now, my only hope at main event, you wanted to talk about. I know you said you didn't believe we were haters on Ja. I am a resident, not hater, but I habitually root against the Ravens. And in that division, Pittsburgh's my only hope. I've sold Bengals stock. I'm done with them. So I hope they do it. My biggest issue with them, because you talk about the defense, I kind of have an issue offensively. Because I watched them with the Patriots early in the year where they won that game. And the Patriots had like 3-4 turnovers, and they still had a chance to win the game late. And then even against the Colts, with all those turnovers from Daniel Jones, the Colts had a shot late to at least tie it or win it. I just worry if the Steelers get caught in a game that's like in the 30s. I don't know if they have enough to really match that kind of firepower. I have questions if it gets into the mid-20s sometimes, if the Steelers can do enough offensively to actually win a game. So for me, like I said, only because I just need them to win the division, I'm going to buy. I'm not confident in that at all. Because trust me, if they win the division, let's say they're the 4 seed, if you're a wild card team, fight for that 5 seed. Because you'll have a very good chance going into Pittsburgh, which is tough, and beating that team. So I'm hoping, not confident.
I'm praying for Pittsburgh success. So obviously, I'm a lifelong Packers fan, so I'm just kind of rooting on Aaron Rodgers. So I'm hoping, you know me, I'm just if they make it all the way to the Super Bowl, I'd be happy, but I'm not betting any money on that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Got one more team here. And just wanted to say, appreciate those of you that are tuned in. Have a good amount of you that are watching. If you like main event, if you like jury, fill up the comments. Let us know how you feel about it. Let us know your thoughts. We want to hear from you. The last team, maybe the more intriguing one of the group, the Chicago Bears. The Bears came into this season, I feel like, with a lot of promise because they got Ben Johnson. And everybody was like, okay, Caleb finally has an offensive coach that will get the most out of him. Been some shaky spots. Defensively, you look at the game yesterday, you have a lot of questions about them. And I know Flacco had a great performance. I think Flacco threw for like 470 something yards. Who had that on their bingo card of 40 something year old Joe Flacco carving up a defense for that? But they did get the win, so you can't take that away from them. Like I said, they're 5-3. They're in that wild card hunt. They have the young quarterback. They seemingly have the right coach, front office, whatever. As Jory put, not with that defense. So, do you agree with Jory and don't really believe in the Bears being a playoff team, or do you think they have the makings to make the playoffs?
If you ask me if I believe in them being like a playoff team like next year,
Okay.
sure. But here's the thing with the Bears, I can't believe in them because they never give me a reason to believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like when they win, you still have questions. Like we were just talking about, they dropped 47 on the Bengals, and you're like, oh, that's really good. Their offense is elite, and then you realize, oh, well, I mean, they got dog walked all afternoon by Joe Flacco, who led the Bengals offense to 42 points and over 500 yards of offense. So they're not giving me a reason to believe in them. I do think that they're on the right path. I love that for them. So I think they're on the right path. If you're asking me if to believe in them to be a playoff team this year, selling that stock. But they should just keep on the path they're going on. Keep adding young pieces. Let this team grow. They could be something. They could have the honor of finishing second in the division to the Packers in a couple of years.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I think the Ben Johnson hire was the smart decision. One of the few seems like the Bears have made in recent years. I think you're seeing enough from Caleb that you kind of get teased at how good they can be. Fortunately, he has to get the consistency down because Jory brought up the Ravens game. If you watch the Ravens game, Caleb Williams was a mess in that game. Threw that terrible pick up against his own end zone. You can't do stuff like that if you want to be a playoff team, especially a Ravens team that was kind of reeling at that point. You give them short field, that does nothing but give your opponent confidence. So if he can continue to develop the way that he is, then yeah, if you want to talk about him next year as a potential playoff team, I could buy into it. I just not this year. Okay. So I have one more of these for you. More troublesome performance. Some of these teams we've already talked about. They're getting up 30 points. And we lost the same old Bears. Look, that's kind of how it's going for Bears fans. But more troublesome performance. We'll start with the Lions. Lions were, a team maybe a couple of weeks ago. You could make the argument as maybe the best team in the NFC. They have a home game against the Vikings team with the young J.J. McCarthy. Talked about a little bit earlier. They lose it. And I think probably the stat line from that game was kind of the lack of usage for Jahmyr Gibbs and everything like that. So they didn't look great. They lost to a team that you probably expect them to beat. You have the Chiefs, who went on the road to Orchard Park, Not an easy place to play. I get it. But the Chiefs were staring at the prospects of their fourth loss on the season, knowing that Denver won earlier, so you don't want to necessarily fall 2 games behind Denver. Mahomes had one of his worst performances, if not, well, I feel like of the season, but in a while. He was less than 50% completion percentage. He had a few throws where he was just throwing up Hail Marys. And he was lucky that he didn't have more interceptions, but he did have an interception late in that game. And Josh Allen gets another win in the regular season over Mahomes and the Chiefs. Third one, your Packers get those Panthers who, I feel like with the Panthers, they're not the pushover that some people thought they were early in the year. But still a low-scoring game at home. They lose on a last-second field goal for their second loss on the year. And they were a team that seemed like they had a clear path to a number 1 seed. This loss, we'll see what that does to that. But looking at the 3 performances, which one would cause you the most worry about the team?
I think the one that. Why don't we just start with the one that doesn't worry me at all, and that's Kansas City. I could care less that Kansas City lost to Buffalo. It felt like the most obvious outcome because guess what? Buffalo always beats Kansas City in the regular season, it feels like. So that just kind of felt like a whole nothing burger. It's tough because it's tough.
The only 2 left are your division.
I'd probably have to pick the Packers for the more troubling one.
Okay.
The Vikings one, obviously the Lions losing to the Vikings and a rookie quarterback isn't great. Mm-hmm. And I think there may have been some flaws exposed in the Lions playbook there. Not really the playbook per se, but one thing that the Vikings did a great job of continuously putting Jahmyr Gibbs into pass protection and continuously just exploited that. The biggest concern with the Packers, right? And I know a lot of people want to talk about, well, Jordan Love this. I'm not concerned about Jordan Love still. I'm not concerned about the defense. It's special teams once again. And it's making all the wrong decisions on special teams. Biggest concern, obviously, is the loss of Tucker Kraft. That's huge.
That was brutal, yeah.
That being said, why are we starting Brandon McManus when he's still working through a quad injury? And we just had a rookie kicker, break the franchise record for longest field goals and was on a great run.
Yeah, wipe Justin Tucker out from that record.
Say, why are we why are we doing things like this? And obviously with McManus's quad injuries, has to kick it short and giving teams great starting field position on kickoffs too. At the end of the day, here's what I'll say about, Jordan Love. People want to talk about the one interception, and that was bad. I'm not going to excuse that. That was a really bad decision throwing that deep ball. He also led us into scoring, into field goal range six times in that game at least. Out of 6 out of our 7 drives outside of the interception, he led us into field goal range. We were in position to score time and time and time again. So I'm not worried about the offense, but I'm really concerned about special teams. And at times I am concerned, too, about Matt LaFleur's play calling in certain situations.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think for me, that was the one line that probably surprised me the most because I'm a big fan of what Green Bay, the pieces that they have. Like I said, I'm not even shocked necessarily that the Panthers beat them the way they did because the Panthers have shown that they're a team, if you don't bring your A game necessarily, they can make it close and they'll steal a game from you. Now, Kansas City, I do find interesting that with this year and the way that it's progressing, they may not get, that top seed and have everybody coming through Arrowhead. They're a team that's getting older, in some spots. Josh Allen had a field day against them in that defense, but we also know probably their biggest redeeming quality is usually when you get to January, Spagnuolo really shows his value. So I don't know if I want to read too much into that. But something about what's going on in Kansas City, I'm kind of worried that if they don't get multiple games in Arrowhead, I don't know if this group that they have this year can get it done. And that's not like a knock on Mahomes or anything. It's just that something has seemed off with them a lot of the year. That for some reason, losing to Buffalo the way they kind of did yesterday does bother me a little bit. And I get it that Josh Allen always wins in the regular season, but then loses in the playoffs. But I don't know. The way it's going, Kansas City would have to go to Orchard Park again in January and try to win. I don't know if I would put my money on Kansas City doing it this time. So I actually think the Kansas City one might be the most troublesome for me. And that's true. To be the man, you got to beat the man. I absolutely agree with that. But I'm just looking at it as it's just been off in Kansas City. So I would say the loss to Buffalo for Kansas City. Only because Josh Allen kind of had his way. Okay. We'll keep going.
No, you're good. It's so hard to like fixate on this one. I know what you're saying. It's just so hard for me to do that when I've seen Kansas City do this year after year after year, and then they turn into an unstoppable juggernaut in the playoffs. It has been a fun season.
It absolutely has. Yes. Okay. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, fair enough.
And with the loss, I believe the playoffs started tomorrow. Kansas City would be on the outside looking in. I don't think I feel like they're going to be a playoff team. Jacksonville right now has a 7 seed. Please, they're not keeping that. I mean, they struggled to beat the Raiders, and if you're a Raiders fan and a Jags fan, you probably watched the whole game. If you're not, you had zero reason to watch that game. It was ugly all around. Trevor Lawrence with terrible interceptions in the red zone. Geno, with his decision making. Oh, actually, since I did bring that up, did you see the ending of that game? In overtime, the Raiders get a score. They could kick the extra point to tie the game, which I guess might have led to a tie. We all know we hate ties, but they decide to go for 2, and they blow it. Were you fine with them going for 2?
What's funny? I'm always fine with teams going for the win. I love that style of play. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. I love aggressive football, especially when you're a team like the Raiders, right?
Yes.
Look, if you're gunning for a playoff spot, I get wanting to play conservative. But when you're a team like the Raiders, the biggest thing this year, it's about building culture. It's building a system. It's about really building this we want to win by any means necessary kind of culture. So I think if you're the Raiders and you're down 1 every single game for the rest of the year, you should go for 2 every single time for the rest of the year. Because at the end of the day, if you're the Raiders, this year's not about winning or losing. It's about, can we lay the foundation for this team going forward? And I think even though they lost, the foundation was very clear. It's, hey, you better step on our throats because we're coming for you. We're coming for the win every single time. And I love that for the Raiders.
Okay. I guess a little side note. Any concern about, I just want to look it up. Yeah. Ashton Genty hasn't had the impact a lot of people thought when they drafted him as high as they did. I'm not saying like, is he bust territory or anything like that, but should we be a little bit concerned?
No, I'm not concerned because I think a lot of that more so has to do with the passing game than Genty himself. Geno Smith has been awful. That passing attack has been really anemic. And when you have a passing attack that, can't move the ball down the field, and we have a team, defenses can just load 7, 8 in the box, I'm not worried about that. I think he'll. I think he's gonna, continuously look better and better. And I think 1 year, maybe next year, or
Mhm.
maybe this year, if Gino catches fire, as soon as that passing attack comes along to help the run game, I think we'll really see him take off.
Yeah. And look, I know a lot of people when he was drafted were like, "Oh, he's gonna rush for 1,000 yards, rush for 1,500 yards," and that hasn't happened. But if you look at his stats, they're actually not that bad. Like he only has 487 yards. That doesn't seem that great. He's averaging like 3.95 yards a carry, and usually the line is 4 yards. If you're averaging four or more, you're doing really well. He's right around that. So it could just be a product of the system. And it was a couple of weeks ago when like Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly were like having a fight in the media because I guess Pete Carroll wanted them to run the ball more, and Chip Kelly was like, "Our offense is whatever. We're running in the philosophy that I have." So it could just be he's not getting enough touches. 124 rushes right now. He's on pace for like 250 if they keep this up, I guess. I don't know.
I,
Maybe he does better in the second half of the year.
I thought he'd be a 1,000 yard rusher too, but I also thought Geno Smith's favorite target wouldn't be a linebacker. So,
Right.
like, I think a lot of this just has to do with the regression of Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Geno Smith was the lead at throwing the deep ball last year, so they get Geno, and your thought is, okay, you have Geno who can really lace these deep balls,
Mm-hmm.
and he can, stretch out the defense and really open up some lanes for Genti. But with his regression, as bad as it's been, defenses don't respect it. So they're just like, yeah, all right, Genti, you're going to have to run through 8 of us. Good luck.
Right. And I agree. I wouldn't panic or anything when it comes to Genty. Let's get into picks. So this was last week because obviously since we're on Monday, we had to wait for last Monday's game to finish. We both had the Chiefs minus 10.5 over the Commanders. We got that. So we both went 3-2 on the week. Your record 15-18-1. I'm 20-13-1. So at least it was a plus week for you. You're getting back towards 500.
Uh,
This week we're both 2-2. Once again, we're waiting for Monday night to decide whether or not we finish above 500 or below. Now, at least last week we both picked the Chiefs. This week we're split. I have the Cowboys -3. You have the Cards +3. And that's Jacoby Brissett's Cards because Kyler Murray is still out. Although for some reason they had the report talking about Kyler Murray may not be healthy enough to start, but he may play a role in the game. And I was just like,
yeah,
what?
they.
What's the point?
I I saw that. That was stupid. At that point, it's like he's going to be inactive. You know that. And sure enough, he's been ruled inactive for tonight. Like we knew that was coming.
Yeah. I was like, what's the point of that report? Like, if I'm the Cowboys, I hear that. I don't all of a sudden go, I wonder when they're going to use Kyler Murray. I look at that and say, he's probably close to returning, but he's not going to return tonight. But whatever. So just to recap, we were split on the Thursday night. Ravens -7.5. You had Dolphins +7.5, which, to be honest with you, the way that game started, I thought you kind of had it. The Dolphins decided to, go for fourth downs early in the game, miss field goals, and that game completely got away from them. We both had Seahawks over the Commanders last night. We talked about that earlier. Locks of the week, we both failed. You had Packers -12.5. We talked about that earlier. The Patriots -5.5. And, good for the Falcons keeping it close. Drake London,
Some of the
great.
strongest hands in the league.
I mean, how? And this is the thing that frustrates me with the Falcons. How is Drake London not like a leading pass catcher in this league? You throw it anywhere near him, he's coming down with it. And for some reason, the Falcons love to be consistently inconsistent. I just don't get it with that group. But they lost by 1 because of Parker Romo's miss. And then underdog of the week, we got to give you credit for this one. You took the Titans plus 10. Jory, if you're still in the chat, Brett was there with your team. And look, they gave the Chargers a run for their money. Chargers ended up winning it 27-20. Defensively, they got after Justin Herbert. It helped that Alt and I guess his backup went out in the game. Slater's still out. So the Chargers O-line is a bit of an issue right now, but they looked good. The offense, I felt like, took a step, but as I said the whole season since they fired Callahan, this is all about Cam Ward getting through the year and then making the right hire in the offseason. I don't know who it is, but we're hearing some names. They're saying Steve Sarkisian with the Longhorns wants the job. Mike McCarthy has come out and said he'd be fine with the Tennessee job. It's like the more I think about it, I don't hate Mike McCarthy in Tennessee. It may not be the sexiest pick, but I don't know. I feel like McCarthy is a guy who's shown successful on offense. That's what Cam Ward needs. He's been a winner in this league. That's what Tennessee needs. Why not? I mean, Mike McCarthy. You coached your team.
Here's the thing with Mike McCarthy. I think he's a good coach if you're looking for a safe floor.
Okay.
He's not going to be a good coach if you're ready to he's going to be that coach that maybe you hire just to get a baseline, because he can absolutely instill a winning culture into your team, because he can get you wins during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's that. Let me put it this way: he's that coach that you get, set the foundation, but he's not going to be the coach to take you all the way. So
yeah.
He might be a fine, maybe 3-4 year hire to get things going, and then one of those things where you go, hey, so we're going to move you into an administrative role into the front office.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't hate it. They can't get comfortable with him, because that's what happened with Green Bay. They got too comfortable with him, and he eventually didn't work out. They got too comfortable with him in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I think Mike McCarthy can still be a coach in this league. I just think we know his ceiling by now, and his ceiling is just not playoff success.
Okay. I mean, look, that's fair. And for Tennessee, after kind of the mess of Callahan, safe floor might be what they need right now. And, establish a foundation, develop Cam Ward over the next couple of years, and then you go get maybe that innovative guy after that. But I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying. Let's see, lastly. Okay, my underdog was the Bengals plus 2.5, and thanks to that stupid defense, my pick failed. I still cannot understand. You know what the Bears need, and you somehow allow Colston Loveland, who's a good player, was 57-yard touchdown. You're in zone number 1. He finds that soft pocket with 5 defenders around him. He makes the catch. Fine. How you don't bring him down, I still can't figure it out when you had 2 guys converging on him. And it's if you hit him at the same time and he ended up staying on his feet or whatever. But if you needed a snippet of what the Bengals season has been, that play right there tells you everything you need to know about the Bengals this year. I could not believe that. I thought Flacco with the touchdown with 30-something seconds left, I was like, okay, Joe, do your thing. And they, once again, because they did this against the Jets too, defense had a chance to get a stop to win it. They didn't. And I guess really quickly before we get our picks and get out of here, this infighting in that locker room in Cincinnati where Jamar Chase and Chase Brown openly talking against the defense, while the defense had players who were requesting trades out of there. Is this not all leading us to Zach Taylor getting fired probably, if not at the very last day of the season, before that? There's no way he could survive this, right?
Yeah, I think it's time for Zach Taylor to update that Indeed profile, buddy. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
It when your running back comes out and says, "Get a effing stop," and he starts going at the defense like he did, it's
Yeah.
over. He completely lost the locker room. It's over. Honestly, in all reality, they should just fire him now. And I know they won't because they'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh well, we're still in a playoff chase." Just cut bait now. The worst thing that you can have happen is, like, for example, Joe Burrow to come back, get hot, and they accidentally make a run. Would be the worst thing to happen because you
Yep.
know exactly what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe Zach Taylor is the guy, and then you can go through another couple of years of this.
Yep.
It's clear
I
as
agree.
day that Zach Taylor isn't the answer in Cincy. Just cut bait with him. It's over.
They might have a run late.
I thought they might, and that's the problem because then Zach Taylor gets another like 3 years with ownership.
But here's the thing: it's just that if they had done what they should have done and won these past two games, they'd be what 5-4. I'd be right there with you, main event. I would say, don't don't throw dirt on the Bengals. Flacco's balling right now. The offense is really good, and the defense is doing enough to win games. But the fact that they're losing games like this, and now players are starting to get real vocal, I'm worried that they're just going to completely fall off a cliff right now and maybe even sink to the bottom of that division. I mean, that's going to obviously be predicated on the Browns actually winning another game or two, which, good luck finding that. But I just don't like what's going on there. And this seems like another situation like Miami has where Tua just can't keep his mouth closed. Now you have multiple players in the locker room talking. Like, how does Zach Taylor rein that in at this point? That's kind of points to him losing the locker room because now people feel like they can do whatever they want. You put a microphone in my face, I'm going to talk and say everything that I want to say, and you can't do anything about it. I agree with you. I feel like perfect situation if the Bengals, had any, I don't know, guts. I would have fired Zach Taylor the minute Brown and Chase finished talking.
Well, and that's kind of the frustrating part with the Bengals, though, because you go, okay, if they can get a decent defensive coach and a solid head coach, they could probably this team could probably make it back to a Super Bowl if they can just retool the defense with a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
So it's frustrating
The
because
DC not been fired?
right, it feels like they're right there, but not only is it the DC should go, the head coach should go, and they got to retool. They have two rookie linebackers starting in the middle of the defense. The middle of the defense has been very badly exposed. It turns out that Shamar Stewart can't just get stops by showing, offensive players his RAS score. He actually
Mm-hmm.
has to play football, which he's been terrible at. So overall, they just need to retool the team and the coaching staff. Mainly find some pieces on defense and just get a coach that knows what they're doing with them. So that's the frustrating part, though, with the Bengals. It feels like they should be right there because their offense is so good.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're allowing 47 pieces to the Bears and a 39 piece to the Jets,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, guys, come on. That's why I can't buy into this idea that they'll just randomly step up late because they haven't shown me. They haven't even shown flashes that they can.
Yeah. And they were the team I had my hope in that division, but I just can't do it. All right. Get into week 10 picks. So pretty sure a lot of you might be new to the show. What we do is we pick the primetime games, so Thursday, Sunday, Monday night. Then we each will take a team that's a favorite for the week that we really like. And then we pick an underdog that we feel like will cover, if not win outright. So we do it against the spread. I use CBS Sports normally. And yeah. So Thursday night. This is the matchup we all wanted. Raiders at Broncos. The Broncos are a 9.5-point favorite. And we just talked about how that offense is very much Jekyll and Hyde. I actually said it correctly finally. I swear for 3 weeks I've been trying to say it and I always mess it up. But Jekyll and Hyde, the Broncos offense has been, but the Raiders still have Geno Smith. Do the Broncos cover the 9.5, or do you think the Raiders could pull off? I don't know. I don't know if that'd be even an upset for them to cover, but could the Raiders cover the 9.5?
I'll take the Raiders covering the 9.5. Here's the thing, right?
Okay.
My mind tells me that I should take the Broncos by 10 or more. But
Mm-hmm.
that being said, everything gets confuddled basically because it's a divisional game.
True.
Divisional games are just, especially in the West, they're so weird. They never go the way you expect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the Broncos win. I think they win by 9. I think they'll come close to covering, but I don't think I can take the over in a West divisional game. So I'll take the Raiders to keep it within 9.5.
All right. Raiders plus 9.5. I am taking the Broncos. I just can't with the Raiders. I think as frustrating as the Broncos offense will be, I could see this being like a, 2010 type of game that the Broncos win and they just barely squeak by on the cover. So I'm not confident in the Broncos covering the 9.5, but I think with the state of the Raiders and the state of Geno Smith, I think they get it done. Now, if you're going to tell me Geno plays mistake-free football, sure. I have no belief in that. I think he'll give them a couple of turnovers, which will help the Broncos cover the 9.5. All right, Sunday Night Football. This is not a bad matchup. You have Rodgers and the Steelers heading to LA to face Herbert and the Chargers. The Chargers are a field goal home favorite, which you get 3 points for being at home anyway. So basically, according to Vegas, kind of a pick'em game. But you're gonna believe in kind of the Steelers' momentum going into LA to face the Chargers, or do the Chargers cover the 3, get a pretty decent win?
Yeah, I'll take the Steelers.
Okay.
I think the problem is now that Alt's out again, no Slater,
Mm-hmm.
no Alt. I just can't buy the Chargers right now. This is a team that got pushed to the breaking point by the Titans, so I think that the Steelers will come in and take care of business. I think the offense of the Chargers can keep it close. I think Main Event's got the right idea. Steelers, I think they win by a touchdown.
Okay. Yeah. I'm there with you as well. Yeah, the Alt injury once again does hurt in this case. And you know full well that crowd is going to be a Steelers crowd. The Steelers are one of those brands that travels well. The Chargers and the Rams can have some troubles at home, getting their fans into the building. So I would not be shocked if that turned into kind of a Steelers home game out west. And look, it's Sunday Night Football. We know Aaron Rodgers is going to be game. I do worry about the protection for Herbert and whether or not he doesn't get battered around a little bit more. So I agree with you. I'm taking the Steelers plus 3. All right, Monday night. Really good matchup. Eagles traveling to Lambeau Field, frozen tundra, to face Jordan Love and the Packers. Might be one of the final games before Toyotathon hits. So Eagles, if you're going to get him now, you get him now. Packers are a 2.5-point favorite at home. How do you see this one going?
I'll tell you a spoiler for the next 2 Packer games because this is exactly would be the most Green Bay thing to do.
Okay.
I will take the Packers to cover against the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I think they will beat the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Watch, though, the week after, my block of the week will probably be the New York Giants to beat the Packers or at least cover.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem with the Green Bay Packers is they have this thing where they play up or down to whoever they're playing. So I have no doubt that they'll wake up and come to play against the Eagles, and I have confidence that we'll beat the Eagles. We'll get a little revenge from that playoff game last year. So Yeah, I'll uh I'll take the Packers. Oh, Ravens are trading for Titans edge Draymond Jones for a conditional fifth rounder that could become a fourth rounder, by the way.
Jory, if you're in the chat, I need to know how you feel about that. We got the Titans and the Ravens doing business. I don't know if I like that. But so Draymond Jones, okay. Look, Arden Key's been in the news a lot. And they traded Jones away. Interesting. Um, also, how is it that Giants Bears has snow in the forecast, and Eagles Packers is going to be sunny and 58 degrees? Give me a snow game, Lambeau Field any day. But I'm torn on this one because this would be the kind of game that the Eagles would win, like close with something happening late, maybe like a walk-off field goal or something like that. And you kind of want to buy into the Eagles with a lot of the noise that's going on there. But I kind of agree with you. I think Monday night in Green Bay, I think Jordan Love might put on a show. Now, the Eagles have made a lot of trades in recent weeks with Jalen Phillips, who would be a good addition along the front seven. They went and got Michael Carter and Jair Alexander to help on the back end. I guess that's the kind of the anybody but a Dory Jackson insurance. So it would be interesting to see how those pieces do fit. But yeah, I agree with you. I'll take the Packers minus 2.5. All right. So now, who are you taking for your favorite that you like out of the rest of the games? And we have some lines here that are interesting. The Bucks are 2.5-point favorite over the Patriots. Colts 5.5-point favorite over the Falcons. The Panthers 5.5-point favorite over the Saints, probably because of the Saints. Sorry, Will. The Bears are a 3.5-point favorite over the Giants. Texans 1.5-point favorite over the Jags. So all home teams so far. Then you have the Bills as a 9.5-point favorite over the Dolphins, who seem like they're selling right now, which is probably why Greer got fired. Funny they fire him. They're making deals. The Ravens are a 4-point favorite over the Vikings on the road. The Jets are a 1.5 favorite over the Browns. That game might be so bad you might just have to watch it. Seahawks 6.5-point favorite over the Cardinals. Rams 3.5-point favorite over the Niners. And the Lions is an 8.5-point favorite over the Commanders. Have a feeling that line might get a little bit higher as you get closer to that game with no Jaden Daniels for sure. So who's the favorite that you're taking?
I'd say I will absolutely take I'll take the Lions.
Okay.
As a lock. Big part of that too is we just received word that Frankie Louvu has been suspended for a game without pay. So
Okay.
yeah, no Jaden Daniels, obviously, no Frankie Louvu. Yeah, I'll take the Lions. I think they cover that rather easily.
Okay. I think where I'm gonna go with this one, it may be a big line to look at, but I don't necessarily see how the Dolphins keep it closer than 9.5 against the Bills. The trade deadline is tomorrow, 4 p.m. Something tells me the Dolphins might move off a few more pieces by then. The Bills will be coming in riding the high of the Chiefs win. And you may look at this as a potential trap game, but I think the fact that they are second behind New England will keep them focused. So I'll take the Bills minus 9.5. All right, who's your underdog that you like to cover?
Underdog that I like to cover. Ooh, all right. See, I like to pick real underdogs because I keep looking at the Patriots Buccaneers line, but they don't even feel like underdogs.
Yeah.
It just feels like the Patriots could flat out win that game rather easily. You know what? I'll let the hater in me do the talking here. Give me the Giants covering against the Bears.
I like it. So Giants plus what, 3.5? Okay. I mean, look, why not? The Giants are at least a fun team to watch. Like I said, the forecast is snow at some point in that game. Probably a game that they wish they had Cam Scatterboo for. That injury obviously was gruesome as well. Hopefully speedy recovery there. But yeah, I could see that. All right, so my underdog, I think I'm gonna go with. I almost kind of let the hate run through me and take the Browns plus 1.5, but I don't know if I'm that crazy to put any faith in the Browns. Unless Myles Garrett plans on scoring a couple of defensive touchdowns. I just don't see that. Where do I want to go? You know what? I might be crazy for this. I don't know. I got a weird feeling. Saints plus 5.5. Weird feeling on that game. Panthers feeling themselves. 500 or above 500. Coming off a big win over Green Bay. Maybe the Saints catch them off guard, keep it close late. Not saying the Panthers don't win, but maybe it's one of those games where it's like 23-20, kind of an ugly Panthers win. So because of that, I'll take the Saints plus 5.5. Which, hey, Will, we're in here. I'm showing his team some love. Don't think they'll win, but they'll keep it close. All right, so those are our picks. Oh, and I guess for the fantasy aspect, Bengals, Chiefs, Cowboys, and the Titans are on a bye. So if you have fantasy players on any of those teams, make sure you get your lineups fixed or scrounge that free agent pool. So recapping, Thursday night, Brett's got the Raiders. I have the Broncos covering. Sunday night, we both have the Steelers plus 3. Monday night, we're both going with the Packers minus 2.5. Our favorites, or locks, I guess. You have the Lions minus 8.5 over the Commanders. I've got the Bills minus 9.5 over the Dolphins. And then our underdogs, you have the Giants plus 3.5 against the Bears. I'm going Saints plus 5.5 against the Panthers. And that's all I got for you. So, obviously, I'm going to try to remember to put our picks up on the Wire to Wire page. So if you aren't following, you can do so and check out the post up there. And, if you want to leave a comment on our picks there, you can definitely do that. You'll also be notified whenever we go live. And lucky for you, if you're into sports and, great conversation, Monday's a kind of stacked night. We used to be on Tuesdays. We're now on Mondays. Actually, Brett, I'm going to give you this opportunity. Let them know what they can look forward to later on tonight.
If you're a big fan of professional wrestling, me and my guy Mo, we talk professional wrestling on the Meaty Boys podcast at 7:15. Tonight's a pretty fun night. We're talking about the John Cena's retirement tour is coming near its end. There's going to be a tournament to decide who gets to face John Cena in his last ever match. So we'll be discussing that Saturday night's main event. It'll be a great time. Some more shows you can see me on. You can catch me on Thursday twice for Sideline to Sideline, where we talk straight up NFL for the week with the NFL genius Kyle and Taking It Deep with D. Godfrey. And of course, you can catch Mo and I on the And One podcast, where we just straight up discuss hoops for an hour to an hour and a half, and sometimes we'll do watch-alongs and be on there for 2. So, like I said, it's always a lot of fun. But if you're a fan of professional wrestling, tune in tonight, and also tune in at 9:00 for the sports report.
There you go. I'm about to say. Then after Mo and Brett give you wrestling news, sports report follows them. They're another show that kind of talks about a wider range of sports. It's also a very funny show. And you'll see me in the comments a lot with other shows here on the network as well. Main Event, cool. Yep, appreciate you tuning into the show. Because like I said, first time that I noticed you, so definitely appreciate the energy you brought. The show is called Sports Report. The channel is Wire to Wire Network. And also, each morning you have coffee and sports to get you going, which you can catch that 9 a.m. Eastern. You'll see me back on here, as Brett said, Thursday night, sideline to sideline. And then I'm also on here Friday night with Jory and Key for Passion and Precision. So make sure you do come back for that. Great show. We have a lot of fun over there as well. So appreciate all of you. Really do. We'll run the outro, which will kind of let you know the shows as well. But for myself and Guardy 3, we're out of here. We'll see you next week. Make sure you're back here for another edition of On the Ball Podcast, Monday nights, 6 p.m. Eastern. W Stream. Appreciate that main event. Really do. So we'll see you later. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll catch you next week. All right? Bye.